So just a few months after my last go-around with the court, I'm back in a position of having to try to remove unnecessary mentions of myself, this time because of David Gingras, the maybe former attorney for pending felon Laura Owens, who faked cancer and a bunch of pregnancies. David has decided to make insane accusations and enter them into the court record as if they are proven facts. I've never actually done anything he's accusing me of here. There was a time that I was extremely respectful towards the guy, and I even played along, like when he tried to name a feral cat after me, I drew whiskers and ears on my pictures. The entire point of me acting like a bizarre clown was okay, fine, if you're gonna be that way, we can play it like that. When he started acting extremely unhinged, I started getting a little more creative with my mocking of him and giving some over-the-top reactions, but I'll rehash everything at a later time if I have to. Right now, I just want to talk about what's current. Now, the first big difference between me and David is that I don't abandon my principles and beliefs about things like free speech and victims' rights when it suits a vendetta. He found it appropriate to abuse his law license to create an official public record stating that I am a criminal and a cult leader. What happens down the line if a prospective employer comes across an official court record like that stating that I am a criminal as a fact, where I couldn't defend myself or correct the record because it is not my case? It has nothing to do with me. David is free to express his opinions in that diary he calls a law firm website. I can defend myself in a public forum, and he has the same free speech rights that I do. So as long as he's speaking within the law about his opinion on what I may or may not have done, that's fine. I have always maintained that it's fair game for him to be critical of me because I've done the same to him. So this time he just took it a step too far. You don't get to invent crimes and use your law license to make them an official record. The second big difference between us is that when I'm acting like a lunatic, it's because I'm being intentionally hyperbolic or satirical. But I know how and when to rein it in and act like an adult. When people cross a line with their threatening behavior and they force me to turn off my clown switch, it's always funny to see how much they hate what happens next. So when I moved to strike David's knowingly false remarks from the court record, he was in disbelief that I even did that. It's always the most self-important and loudest people who end up shocked that I have a brain. It's no surprise that a man like this would automatically assume that what I wrote had to have been written by my male friend. So I'm going to tell you what's actually going on here and provide context for a lot of the crazy things that are being said. I'm going to try to skip over some of the parts that have nothing to do with me, which should frankly be this entire case. But here we are. Of course, he's rambling about how JFC is a cult. I have nothing to do with the operation of any JFC account. I believe they're all independently run by different people. I don't know if they even communicate with each other. So that's not a great cult, or at least it's a poorly run one, but okay. Respondent's counsel is a prominent supporter of and participant in the JFC cult. More than that, he's also friends with and frequently collaborates with a key cult leader and instigator named Laura Michelle. Below is a recent photo of Miss Neidigh and Mr. Serrato appearing together at an event in Arizona. All right, first of all, calling me a key cult leader is wild. The thought of that is unappealing to me. I don't want to be the leader of anything. I like it when people leave me alone most of the time. I can probably count on my hands the number of people I talk to on a weekly basis. I mean, maybe a little more than that, but still. I'm also not always a very well-liked person in this community. A lot of times there are people I like who don't like me. That sucks, but you could say that I'm definitely not a fan favorite. I just accept that I can't change that. So next time David is having one of his rage delusions, I would appreciate a demotion. Second, I don't believe I posted this photo anywhere. This does not look like a photo of me that I would advertise. That means he has to be meticulously watching my friend's content, even Zach Peter, whose event this was, and he has no idea who David is. As you can see from the image he included, that was me at an event that wasn't even related to David or Laura's case. He's just harboring a cringeworthy level of jealousy and watching everything that I do. If the name Laura Neidigh sounds familiar, it should. On July 11th, 2 days after this case was filed, Miss Neidigh filed a media request to broadcast this entire case. This court denied the request the same day it was made. Miss Neidigh is not associated with any legitimate media outlet. She is simply a YouTuber like Mr. Serrato. Yeah, so I've addressed the media request thing multiple times. It was made months ago. I've completely forgotten about it by now. Anyone can make that request, and the court can decide if it's an appropriate request. They said no, I accepted it, and I never made it an issue. It doesn't matter if I'm part of a bigger media outlet or not. I can still make the request. David knows this because I was in the courtroom filming Clayton's trial where David was representing Laura. He actually just included this to be a dick. I didn't even tell anyone I had made a request that was rejected. The only reason I did so was because it came out on the docket, which I was not expecting, but it's really not a thing that hurts my feelings. So, okay, you did your big one, I guess. The friendship between Miss Neidigh and Mr. Serrato is not the reason why sanctions are appropriate. I'm actually going to skip the part where he's crying softly into his keyboard here about the motion to disqualify because we've discussed that at length, and I want to focus on his accusations against me personally. But Mr. Serrato and Miss Neidigh need collateral disputes, because collateral disputes provide content for Miss Neidigh's YouTube videos, and every new video means more money. And that is exactly what has occurred. She has released hours of videos talking about this case and gloating about how Mr. Serrato roasted and embarrassed the undersigned in his pleadings, including his motion to disqualify. I'm not sure how many times I have to explain this before this man starts to understand. The thing is, David and Laura themselves are the source of most of the content I've produced related to these cases. With their stupid blogging, tweeting, motion to compel lunch, YouTube videos, making wildly salacious remarks about a judge. So the fact that he wants to now pretend as if me covering a court filing is part of a conspiracy is nonsensical. Because I've covered every single one of his filings, blogs, or videos where he says all manner of inflammatory things about people that I actually like. This accusation against me doesn't even make sense. As for the amount of hours I spend covering it, so what, Snowflake? You don't like how much time I spend on it? Try not to be so damn long-winded. This makes David look terrible. A lot of the time spent in those videos is me goofing off with other people or even playing games on the screen. I won't apologize for that. Also, the one he complains about the most was actually a stream where multiple women were present, and we had what I felt was an important discussion about how women who are abused don't always have the same reactions to their abusers. And that's why it's so hard to see Laura muddy the waters for people who have actually suffered through abuse. But he leaves all that out and pretends all we ever do is call him names and talk about him for hours and hours and hours. There's a lot more going on there. As for me covering this case every day, yeah, that's not true. That's easily provable. You can see that I go days at a time without discussing it, and most of my stuff is related to a different case, which brings in far more viewers and, frankly, far more money. So if I was actually part of a conspiracy to monetize, I would be doing a terrible job. The money is not with this case. I don't just sit here and talk for money. I found that a lot of the issues in this case and related cases were important to me, and I'd like to see that through. But acting like I need to do this for the income is just a childish and intellectually lazy attack. He doesn't ever have anything to say about any substantive argument I've made. My criticism of David is entirely consistent with my previous content, from long before Omar became involved in Mike's case, and the exaggerated language like roasted or battle or embarrassed in titles and thumbnails is consistent with my content related to other cases or issues. This is not unique to David. It is not new or unusual for me. There is no evidence to support the conclusions he is stating. Also, I have openly said multiple times that I'm donating whatever I'm making from these streams because that is my personal choice. That is something I've done with multiple cases in the past for multiple causes with whatever money I earned covering it. If I have ever asked people for money, it is extremely rare, but I sincerely doubt you would find an example of me covering the filings in Mike and Laura's case and asking people to give me money specifically so that I could keep it and then profit. In addition to disparaging Miss Owens and the undersigned, Miss Neidigh has posted videos praising Mr. Serrato for his valiant battle against Miss Owens in this case. This part actually made me feel a little sad for David. Imagine having such a lonely and miserable existence that you are deeply offended and triggered by someone saying kind words about a friend. I won't get too much into this, but I've said before I struggled with most kind of relationships after my experience with my abuser. So to come through all of that and to be able to have healthy relationships and have so much love for them is a thing that I hope everyone who went through a similar struggle will have eventually. Not everything in the world or on the internet has to be hateful or filled with rage. We should always try to talk about the good things too. I tell my friends how I feel, and usually those are private conversations because most of the people I'm close to are not ever going to be known to people on YouTube. But on the rare occasion I get to share that with people, I'm definitely going to put more of that love out into the universe. I'll be honest, sometimes it sucks. Sometimes we have a lot of love for people who don't necessarily treat us with the same love and respect. So it's a scary thing to just be open about that. You could end up being embarrassed or looking cringy. That still happens to me, but I'd rather be embarrassed. I'd rather be cringy. I'd rather have people in my life who want me to be the way that I am. And I'd rather run the risk of being hurt or embarrassed than to be somebody who is ever only loud about the things that suck in their life. And the nature of the internet and the way we learn things about the world these days makes it really easy to only see the negative. I would encourage David to find the kind of love in his life that makes him feel proud and grateful enough to share that, rather than only clinging to this insane, intense, all-consuming hatred. In his opposition, Mr. Serrato never denies collaborating with Miss Neidigh to attack Miss Owens and further the JFC Colts' goals. Instead, he attempts to downplay the issue, suggesting Gingras' theory that Mr. Serrato filed the motion to disqualify is unsupported and unreasonable. This argument misses the point. Regardless of whether Mr. Serrato has paused his YouTube career, his longtime collaborator, Miss Neidigh, has not. Instead, she continues creating new content about this case virtually every single day. Because Miss Neidigh keeps posting the same disparaging content Mr. Serrato previously did, their plan is obvious. They intend to use this case as a platform for generating and publishing false and defamatory statements and pleadings, which are privileged and protected, so Miss Neidigh can then profit by republishing those lies on her YouTube channel. I am once again capable of having independent thoughts and opinions without the help of a male friend. I understand that this is a concept that David struggles to grasp. For the record, he absolutely did deny it. He addressed that accusation, saying he has no control over what other people say, and that is true. I wouldn't let anyone tell me what I can and can't say any more than I would accept that from David. And I'm certain that Omar would never even try it because it's a fast way to make me mad at someone. My coverage of Laura and David's court antics predates my relationship with Omar. It also predates Omar's knowledge of or coverage of these cases. It is plainly just not true that I'm doing what I'm doing because of anyone else. These are extremely easy things to prove, and David is really embarrassing himself here, which is a word I'll be sure to use in the title again when he loses his law license. While that claim may sound paranoid in any other context, the court must understand Miss Neidigh has demonstrated a willingness to do absolutely anything, legal or illegal, to attack, defame, and harass both Miss Owens and the undersigned. She has engaged in such conduct nearly every day for almost 2 years. Well, David hit the nail on the head in the first sentence there. This is paranoid as hell. He should have deleted this. I have not done anything to attack, defame, or harass these people. They just don't like what I say. To say I've been doing this nearly every day for 2 years is completely false. I went long stretches of time without discussing this at all because if this guy and his client aren't out here trying to hurt people, why would I feel the need to pay attention to what they're doing at all? Right now, I'm talking about it a lot more frequently because there's an active case with a ton of things being filed, many of which are inflammatory and outlandish things from Laura or David. If you obsessively seek out the things that I'm saying or doing and then claim to be hurt by them, that is not harassment. That is you choosing to hurt yourself and your own feelings. Again, examples are too numerous to include them all, so just consider this. Miss Neidigh recently created a social media profile, it's false by the way, using the name David Gingras, accompanied by a photo of undersigned counsel's face photoshopped onto Miss Owens' body. Using that account, she spends hours each day posting comments in the name of David Gingras, including this fine work of poetry. And then he goes on to say that I am committing a crime in the state of California. Okay, I'm in Florida. Don't know if that matters, but cool, I guess. Because if you have credibly impersonated someone, that's a problem, with the means or purposes of harassing, intimidating, and threatening. Okay, let's think about this. Okay, this example he's giving here. By the way, I changed my name to David Gingras because he refused to leave us alone when everyone has made it clear that they don't want anything to do with him. We all know he's watching it every day, all day. He has nothing else to do. This example here is a screenshot of me saying, David's brain is smoother than a porn star's butthole. So this should have stayed in the Discord. Seeing this in a court filing is, wow. I'm not sure what you hope to accomplish with that for a number of reasons. David claims I'm committing a crime by credibly impersonating him. Okay, would you say that the image of David's head on Laura's body is a credible impersonation? Just wondering. He says right there that I'm the one doing it, so right away he just disproved his own statement because he can openly tell it's me. This is an account I've had for a long time. I informed everyone that it was me. I did not make a new account. And all you need to do to figure that out is to hover over the user where you would see my actual name. David knows this. I have not credibly impersonated him in any way. Second, making him into a meme when talking about public issues is not a threat to him. I'm not sending him anything or asking him to listen to me. It is not an intimidation at all whatsoever. I am making fun of you, David. I'm allowed to do that. If you don't like it, that is tough shit, Cupcake. I don't like the things that he said about me or many people that I care about either. I just would never abuse the court system to retaliate over it because I actually do believe in free speech. So yes, when David started trying to get videos from his critics taken down by copyright striking people who used his photo or read his filings, I decided to get a little creative. I used his head on Laura's body. Gotta get that fair use at it. I'm happy to use a good, respectable photo of him if he'd like to stop trying to strike people for it. As for the screenshot of the comment I made, you can only call someone stupid in so many ways. So if they keep acting stupid, again, you gotta get creative. I never really considered myself a poet, but I guess I'll accept the compliment. By the way, David sought out a Discord full of his critics to obsessively stalk and screenshot everything they're saying about him, only to then try to punish them for their freedom of expression. That's why I started saying such outlandish things, to make a point, because he can't help himself but excessively screenshot this and post it on his social media. He's going out of his way to access criticism about himself and then disingenuously painting it as if he's being harassed. You can't be a self-proclaimed free speech lawyer who then abuses his law license to try to cause reputational harm to them in the court system for that free speech. Including these things in filings where they aren't relevant, it's a bad look. You really shouldn't have done that. It only shows that you're obsessively seeking out criticism and then acting butthurt when you find it. Is Mr. Serrato liable for the criminal conduct of his friend Miss Neidigh? He will claim he's not, but when two parties conspire to engage in unlawful conduct, both may be held liable for the other's illegal act. The truth is, there is no question Mr. Serrato filed a groundless pleading, which contains knowingly false and disparaging statements. There's no question he did so for no valid reason. Within days, that frivolous pleading was turned into a lengthy YouTube video by Mr. Serrato's close friend and co-conspirator, Miss Neidigh. Given the history of extreme hostility shown by them both towards Miss Owens and her counsel, it is only reasonable to conclude Mr. Serrato and Miss Neidigh intentionally conspired to abuse this court's process by filing a groundless pleading for the sole purpose of harassment by republishing it on YouTube. So here he's drawing certain conclusions, which are based on paranoid conspiracy theories. This makes him appear mentally unwell. There's really not much more to say about it. Also, no one has been hostile towards Laura. She is not required to listen to any criticism of her. She chooses to track everything I do and listen to every word I say, as does David. You can't just invade people's space and demand not to be talked about. That's not how the world works, babe. The reason these videos warrant discipline is because this is a domestic violence case in which one of the parties is being supported by an online cult. Oh, Jesus Christ. In this context, the concern is not that Mr. Serrato thinks the images are just a joke. The concern is some unknown member of the JFC cult could easily misconstrue these jokes as an encouragement to engage in actual violence towards Miss Owens. And then he does all kinds of crazy work here, referencing Paul Pelosi, Charlie Kirk, Donald Trump Jr. Like, this is completely irrelevant. The videos and thumbnails that he keeps pointing to and acting so offended by, they were made nearly a year ago. He had no issue with it whatsoever until right now. You can't randomly punish a lawyer for satire he made long before he was ever involved in a case. Also, the thumbnails depict a sporting event, not an assault. This came about because David Gingras deemed himself the Conor McGregor of litigation. David is trying hard to reach here, but he still can't quite grasp reality. The references to Paul Pelosi and Charlie Kirk are random and used only as a means to attack my character by associating us with some kind of violence. I've been quite clear that I don't want to see any actual harm done to him or his client. I have never threatened David or anyone else with violence. I recently condemned the assassination of Charlie Kirk because I don't believe that violence is ever okay, and this was only put here to invoke an emotional reaction to hopefully confuse people enough into believing what he's saying. That was a failure, David. We must do more to stop political, social, and legal disputes from turning violent. What one person sees as a harmless joke may be easily mistaken for encouragement, even permission to engage in violence. Mr. Serrato thinks asking a litigation opponent if they want gun smoke, by the way, he never said gun smoke, that's a lie. Thinks asking if they want gun smoke is not a literal promise, it's just a joke. Okay, but what about the angry, mentally disturbed person sitting in their basement following every minute of YouTube coverage posted by Mr. Serrato and Miss Neidigh? What might that person think? What might they do? David is the mentally disturbed person watching everything that we do. No one is being violent here. No one wants to kill you. In fact, David is the only person involved who has featured firearms or ammunition in his content. He's done it multiple times now, at one point writing down that Omar was dead to him with an assault rifle in the background. He also made a point to say something about content creators covering Laura's case, something about gleefully reading our obituaries before throwing them in the trash. If David associates having criticisms of people with thoughts of murder, that would make David a violent threat, not anyone else. I am not responsible for mentally disturbed people seething in their basements. If I were, I would have gotten David some help by now. But random strangers are not my responsibility, because despite what he says, I am just an individual. I am not in a cult. I don't command people or tell them what to do. I'm often disliked for my opinions, and I had to learn to be a grown-up and accept that. I don't seek out negativity about me and then go scorched earth when I find it. David would do well to learn the same, because right now, he is the crazy person in the basement. He's displaying weapons and showing which bullets can be used to kill people on his YouTube channel. Ultimately, I can see that what David is doing here is using the court to level extreme accusations in a way that would not allow me to fight back. It's an abuse of the courts, and it's wrong. I have nothing to do with this case. If he wants to talk shit about me on social media or his blog, he may do so. But the reason he did this in a court filing rather than in a blog is so that he could shield his wild statements with the litigation privilege by abusing the court system. He knows I can't sue him for what's being filed in a legal proceeding. This emboldens him to claim things as a fact, even when they are clearly not supported by any evidence. If he actually believed anything he was saying, then this would have been another blog post where he spews all the other delusional crap he says he believes in. He's behaving in a completely unethical way, and he deserves to lose his law license so he can never do this to anyone again. I will do my part to make sure that happens.